Welcome to Graybeard Wisdom, where experience meets curiosity and legacy is built one conversation at a time. I'm your host, Mark Freeman, and today we're stepping into a dialogue that bridges decades of insight with the urgency of now. My guests are two thinkers whose work has shaped systems, security, and strategy across industries and continents. Benjamin Gong, a pioneer in cybersecurity and a quiet architect of trust in the digital age, and Thierry Bourreau, whose lens on organizational design and human systems invites us to rethink how we build, lead, and belong. So settle in, whether you're a fellow graybeard or just borrowing one for the day. This conversation is an invitation to listen deeply, think broadly, and maybe even reimagine your own path forward. Welcome, Benjamin and Terry.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mark.
So, I want to get into Metafoodx in a deeper sense, kind of in later on in the podcast, but maybe give us an overview of what it is, how it works, and then we'll go into it deeper later. Maybe to give our audience some context as to what it is. So, Benjamin, maybe just give a high-level overview of Metafoodx.
Absolutely. Yeah. For us at Metafoodx, we have created a solution that is an AI embodied, AI powered solution for food service operation. Consider it an operating system where we bring the data visibility, help them to then do consumption-based planning, process management, streamline. So the idea is in the end, without the manual labor that is traditionally very heavy in the food service operation, without that, yet bring the visibility and bring the ability for them to actually control and eliminate the inefficiency that is in that process. And one of the immediate results is going to be cost savings for the operation by eliminating overproduction that is very significant in that environment. So that's what we do. And then we actually very happy because now we are at a number of customers, of course, and we are seeing the results to validate what we set out to do.
Okay, and so the way you kind of make it sound, it's more of a back-end system than it is a machine, if you will. I know I'm a little bit familiar with this, and so there's actually a machine that measures things. Is that part of the mix as well?
Yeah, I would say today a lot of people already realize where AI is going. We are going, from the language to actually to the physical world, going from feelings to living. What
Yeah.
it means is we have to touch the reality. We have to, so for the food system, it is physical and we have to have nutritious food. So this machine you refer to, that's our AI scanner, is absolutely critical. Actually, that is a part that makes it possible to get very granular, very accurate inventory and consumption data day in and day out, right? Then everything else is made possible by having this data and having these insights coming from the data. Yes, and that is part of the solution.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah,
Great.
I will
Okay.
just add, you're right, it's a machine or a device. It's a complete solution for track all the consumption, for recreate the best forecast we can create, but it also provides the opportunity to the operator to always stay on the top of the food quality, the consistency they serve, and track and record all temperature log.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay, and like I said, we'll maybe go in deeper into what you're doing and maybe what some of the results are that your customers are getting in a little bit. But before we get there, maybe I want to kind of explore both of you a little bit and your background and that sort of thing. So Benjamin, what was the original insight that led to Metafoodx?
Yeah, it's a great question. For me, it actually the two aspect. One is I'm always looking forward. I have this thing, feel very passionate about always building practical solutions to solve real problem. And that was the approach I used in all of my previous cybersecurity startups. And then for this one, when I was looking at actually simply helping a friend, right, who initially want to do something about the food waste and the nutrition. So I did spend a lot of time helping these friends, basically without compensation, right? Because it's a startup. I'm always very excited about those. But it's simply in that process, I got exposed to how bad the food waste problem is.
Yeah.
So this is where, once I learned in the last so many years, the EPA or the data showed, we are from farm to table, right? We are wasting from 30% to 40% of the food. And that translates to, hundreds of billions of dollars. This is where the first thing I figured, if I was going to do anything for another startup, food, nothing is bigger than food for us, for the society. That was the initial trigger. Once I digged in a little more, I realized, some of these learnings, other learnings I have in doing cybersecurity. For instance, one of the notion, the principle is called look left or shift left. Shift left, the concept is, when you look at the threats, you want to focus on prevention to see how do you want to prevent it, and so that you have the most effective solution in protection. And then when I thought of that, what we have done, leverage the AI, machine learning, and also different hardware. Um, in the past, this is where I figured it clearly by looking at what is the reality in the current food service environment
Hmm.
in restaurants, we see that opportunity. We clearly see a path, right, for building a solution to actually help solve that problem. And of course, that was just the beginning. The beginning, we see a problem we want to solve, and we actually have technology insights. We think we can put something together. Of course, what I didn't realize then is there is a lot more work on exactly how this solution should look like, so that it can fit into that environment for food service. And this is where we were very lucky to actually get Terry, because then his expertise, right, experience in that environment helped us tremendously in defining what this product should look like so it can fit that environment without, right, creating extra burden for people. I mean, that's the second piece of this solution that is very critical. Yeah.
So you get theory in it because he's kind of got the experience, the operational experience to be able to help you with the machine, with the device, right? So theory, again, you've led dining programs at USC, UC Berkeley, and been with Bon Appetit and kitchens and that sort of thing. What's the biggest kind of blind spots that are pertaining to sustainability, and how did you guide Benjamin with that expertise?
Well, where I came with expertise, it's really, I think it's 20-year operation in high environment. And you saw the production day after day. You saw your chef be burned out. You saw your cook be burned out. You saw the increasing of production, the increasing of waste, and no tools for really help the operation. Donc, when I met Fengman and June, and they tell me what they want to do, I thought it was very great idea uh, to really create a device or a system who will help all operators to be more efficient. You can have a lot of system in place. You can put a lot of system in place on sustainability, on production, on whatever you want, but you always forget the day-to-day operation and the amount of work your staff, your chef, your manager have to do for be sure the food arrive in the table. That's the first priority they have. And they don't have any tool for tell them that is what you need to produce. This is what your customer eat. Do not produce more. If it fell for me under three category, I mean the missed data, the operation integrity, and the accountability. The waste measurement, the often in operation rely on handwriting. The staff write on the end of the service on a piece of paper what they serve, what they waste. This piece of paper is missing, or you go and you depend on the staff memory. You ask them, you remember how many pen of lasagna we served yesterday? And your number are not correct. Look, if it's not correct, your forecast will not be correct. And by default, you will overproduce or underproduce. And if you underproduce, you don't have enough food for your customer. To find the good limit and really reduce the gap between production and consumption, that was my goal coming to Metafoodx.
Well, and that's interesting too, because in a sense, what you're doing is challenge. I mean, when you say, like production records and that sort of thing, that's what's in a chef's head, right? They know how much to produce. And again, what both you and I know is that they're overcompensating in different places. And so you end up with food waste, right? So how
It's,
do,
it's, co- it's completely correct because by routinely they produce 10 or 20% more food
yeah,
than needed. And that increases the waste, the labor, the utility usage, and they just do it for be sure to have enough food. And they do it based on the data they have. And the chef knows the production, but non-chefs are able to tell you the true consumption on the 20 stations they're serving every day for breakfast, lunch, dinner.
right.
And if you don't have this information, you fail.
Right. And you just, well, and you guess, they make a good guess based on their experience, right? So it's kind of, yeah. But again, what I think the device is doing is changing the perception in the chef's head and helping them as opposed to being a threat to them, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, the threat is not to tell the chef, oh, we saw all this waste. That you waste too much is
Yeah.
not good. You're not managing your business. We take the problem prior going to the trash. We identify what you serve. We identify your customer behavior. We identify the time you need to serve the food, and we provide this information to the chef. We really make the life of the chef and the management team very easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I could jump in very quickly, the interesting thing to that point Terry was making, I just want to highlight one that is from day one we started with this, we've got to track every menu item individually, day in and day out. See that speaks to exactly that because from the dining hall to even the restaurant, right? Your menu lineup is going to affect what people are going to eat
Yeah.
because people look at them. And so this is where, I mean, that part is exactly the challenging part, right? How do you track them accurately and persistently? And then that's this beginning point, right? We see many other solutions, they simply miss that point, right? Then they won't be able to get the visibility, give that data to the chef or to the operations. I mean, it's that simple. Once we decide to do that, it's a challenging problem, but we solve that problem, and that's the beginning point to empower the operations team and the executive chefs. Yeah.
Well, right. And so in a sense, you're shifting behavior in the kitchen, right? I mean, and the information that your device is providing the kitchen staff is it's not just numbers, right? It's changing things and how people move in the kitchen, on the ground or in the space, right?
Yeah, I mean, in a way, right? I think Terry and I, when we talk to some of the uh, operation professionals, and the word that people use to describe is we simply take the guesswork right out to take the
Yeah,
gas out of their daily work. And the interesting thing is this is for the executive chef and the operation and finance. But then if you even think about the staff, right, day in day out staff, it's actually there is also used to be guesswork because they are told they are expected to track the consumption. The question is simply manually, it's just not doable. Everyone is so busy, they've got to get the people fed. So then end up is people trying to do their best to do that tracking, right? Paper, pen, and thermometer, everything on the probe. But they have to blend in the guesswork. So then that means the data, even if they write it down on the clipboard, there is a lot of guesswork in it. And then the chef understand that. And so then the chef would blend in their best guesswork, their experience.
sure.
So depend on how good they are, and that would affect the outcome, right? So we kind of remove that, take out of that guesswork, and made everyone's life easier in the right the same time. So that's I think one critical aspect with the solution. Yeah.
Let me give you an example of a tool we provide, Mark, and you know that from your career too. Uh, the, you, the bigger waste came on the end of the service because the staff is, by habit, completely stuck the line until the end of the service.
Yep.
And you have a
Outlook
full
full.
pan of chicken and full pan of rice.
Yep.
We- By monitoring the service, we saw what times they scan the pan, and we saw the leftover when they close the line for the same pan. Donc we are able directly to provide feedback to the chef and tell them what times they need to reduce and pass from a full pan to a half pan, from a half pan to a third pan, and be sure the food is as a high quality, is not dry, and the customer enjoy. And on the end, they don't have lot of leftover. The A lot of solutions provide number on a dashboard, and number on a dashboard is a great thing, but that doesn't help the human behavior on the ground. And I think we have a lot of tool for help the human behavior on the ground and provide what the chef need to be successful.
Yeah, that's interesting. And in a sense, we're talking about institutional food service here. We're talking about, college universities, corporate cafes, healthcare, senior living, cruise ships, that sort of thing. Does it also apply to the restaurant world? I mean, and how they can use it to improve their waste and the production?
Yeah, and Terry, you can add and I just came back from the conference. I'll add a few more from the California restaurant show we just came back.
The restaurant world we have a lot of things on our pipeline for restaurant. I think it's maybe too early to discuss about, but we are working on different solutions to help restaurant. The restaurant waste is not the bigger problem because the majority is cooked to order. The
Yeah.
big problem for restaurant is consistency, quality, temperature of the food you serve. That's the bigger problem for a restaurant, not really. And what the customer eat or not eat. Mm,
Yeah.
Okay.
And so let me add two quick things without delving into more because I will stick to the features. Our current solution we have restaurant customers actually start using. So we will work with them, right? We'll make it more perfection for them to be bring even more benefits. But one is, as Terry mentioned, it's helping them to track the food temperature and set the reminder and timers for them per menu item. They want to make sure the food there is fresh. So we assist them because the way the solution works, right? When you scan, the timer is set. And for this dish, you want to be 20 minutes. That's 20 minutes will give you plenty of warning and reminders for them to do it. So that's one example. And then the second example is we actually have, in this case, in restaurant, if you summarize, I mean, definitely it's quality, it's the inventory. Actually, restaurants running inventory is a big challenge, remain a big challenge for them.
Yep.
And people already see the benefit of it. And then the other one I just quickly mentioned is actually today, as you know, almost all restaurants have a significant component of delivery, the remote people ordering online. And in
Yeah.
this case, for restaurant, there is a strong need to be able to keep track of a good record of what is packaged and to be delivered for that customer. It serves the customer, serves the handover from the restaurant to the delivery platform. And that one, we also now have one new customer, restaurant customer, signed up, and they are very proud that they can use our solution and to actually give the customer that trust in terms of the quality of food they packed and they are going to deliver to the customer. So we are very happy with that. And so our solution will be used at that fulfillment, and they will scan and they'll have a good record of what shape, what is packaged and to be delivered for the customer. So yeah, I mean, definitely we have received a number of feedback interest from the restaurant show. We have strong, not only from the restaurant owners, but also the other partners. Now, see, we are providing a significant value add, which we're all missing from the other system.
Well, yeah, and two things. One is it because the data is real, it starts to build trust, right? Not only
Yeah,
with the kitchen staff and the people that are working with it, but also with the customer. Like you say, they can see that, when their order was produced and they know that it's safe when they get it, right? Kind of thing. And so to
yeah,
me, it's a tracking device as well, just to plant, trust in the customer's head that it's real, right? I think that's a piece of it. The other thing too is I bet the health departments just love this too, because kind of what you were saying earlier is that, you know, the the uh the kitchen worker, supposed to write down times every now and then, they forget and oh my God, well, but this machine tracks it constantly so that the health department has, they can come in and maybe even come in remote to be able to check, what's going on with the temperatures of the food.
Yeah, exactly. And
yeah,
it's really it's removing some constraints the staff really doesn't do correctly or doesn't like to do, and let them focus on what they like to do. And what they like to do, it's cooking and taking care of the customer.
Yeah.
Let them focus on what they like to do, and we do the other part. I'll give you an example for restaurant. If you take a line restaurant, still Cava, Chipotle, etc., the beauty of the device when you scan your every food you put online, it's really easy after for us to integrate to the POS and to track the portion control. I
Yeah.
mean, if you have, I don't know, Chipotle boiled chicken, the POS will tell you how many chicken you sell, and we can tell you how many you serve. Look, you can also train the staff on portion control for increase or decrease, and be sure you stay on your track with your recipe.
Yeah, no question. Again, data's king, right? It's everything, and you put different data sources together with the data that you have, all of a sudden it starts to really make a kitchen more efficient, and in this case, hopefully reduce food waste to, almost zero, right? Just because you have data. Well, okay, so I promised earlier on that you would maybe kind of take us through how this thing works, how maybe if you can give a overview of, just what a chef or what a line worker would do with this device and how it flows.
Why don't we do this, Terry? I mean, I will just start with how easy, because I'm excited about how easy the customer get onboarded. And I'll leave Terry, right, to say, how the operation, because it's more complex. And today we have uh, integrated the Gen AI and all the capability allow us to get customer onboarded with as simple as to find out if you have your Wi-Fi network connection and you have your list of menu items you plan your offer in your environment, whatever, be it restaurant or be it in a dining hall, right? It doesn't matter. That's all it takes. The list of the things you're going to offer for your venue, and that's the beginning point. That's as simple as that. I'll just put it out in a layman term, and that's how we get this kind of the customer started. They don't have to do any heavy lifting to prepare for adopting this device. And then the rest is just plug in. Of course, Terry managed the team support. Terry can shed light in actually in operation, right? How do they use it? How do they realize the real values, right? On a very short term. Yeah.
Well, and before you go there is like you say, Benjamin, it's so easy, right? And when it's easy, people will do it, right? And that's to me, one of the key pieces. So Terry, take us through it.
Well, it's easy. It doesn't need any training. I give you an example. The staff takes the pen from the hot box, they put on the device. In 2 seconds, the device will recognize the net weight of the food item, takes the temperature, and you put online. This is 2 seconds with no interaction with the pad. You're done. The 2 seconds are versus the staff put the pen online, take the thermometer, take the temperature, report on a piece of paper, chicken 1245, 155 degree.
Yeah.
Take another piece of paper and write 1 pan of chicken 1255. And change the glove between. So it's really 2 seconds versus 3 minutes. And you really have 100% of the data. It's like fermented, nothing is more easy, and it's not doesn't take any time for the staff. It doesn't involve any training. The only time they have to touch the pad is on the end of the service when they take the food, they put back on the device, they go on the pad and they decide if the leftover will be reused, composted, or donated. And like that, the kitchen will have the full report of the waste and where goes the waste.
Okay, so then the human gets involved in it in making that decision. Is there some kind of training that needs to happen for a line worker to say, oh, I know goes to compost, or I know this goes to, leftovers or whatever. Is there some training that's involved there?
We, we, I don't think we cannot take the decision for the operator. We cannot suggest the operator, you need to donate this food, or you need to reuse this food, or you need to compost this food.
Okay. Okay. That's cool. And so then now that I mean, these workers, you've made it so easy for them to be able to do all this. So You just have workers standing around now, or is there?
No, I mean that, that's a good point. I mean, do you rather to have your worker, I don't know, make a good garnish on every pen you serve, or write on a piece of paper? Do you rather your worker to take 1 second and say hi to your customer and ask them if they have a good day, or take a temperature? Do you rather your staff to have time to do more batch cooking versus mass production? It's it's using the staff a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I the thing that resonates with me is hospitality, right? Like you say, now
Hmm.
you can engage with the customer. You can tell them about the string beans and where they came from and the farmer that grew them and and all the things that sometimes customers want to know about.
Hmm.
Now you're in a sense training them on storytelling more than, how to put numbers on a clipboard, right?
Correct.
Yeah, it was funny because we, at some customer at school, we observed then, either it's a supervisor or the staff or it's the director going around in the hall and just go and pick a table and sit down and just ask the student and the people who are eating there and say, how is it, right? And do you like the food today? What something you noticed? So that is the human touch, not for hospitality. I think that is very critical if they can do it. Yep.
Oh, no question about it. Again, in my past, what I used to do every once in a while was just go sit at a table. And the customer they're just blown away that somebody cares. And you just ask them how are things and they open up and they tell you, there's too much salt on the hamburger and why are the fries cold every time? I mean, they really get into some, but to me, that's that's where the hospitality really starts. And then they want to hear a result or see a
Mhm.
result, right? And
Yeah.
instead of, like you say, just somebody putting numbers on a clipboard, I don't know, it just makes so much sense. But that's cool. That's cool. So in a sense, then, when the food comes off the line, they put the pan on the machine and then they decide where it goes, and then is there some kind of a connection to the I don't know, the production software that they may be using in the back of the house to be able to then reincorporate that leftover into tomorrow's soup or lasagna or whatever it is, right? Is there some, APIs or some connection that you have that isn't human that now connects everything together in the back of the house? You're on mute, Terry.
Terry, unmute.
I'm sorry. We have API with different food service management, and we continue to the API. The best way it work, for give you an idea, the um, the food software management, we send us the production, we track the consumption, and we send back the consumption and the leftover. I mean leftover because it's not always waste, like you say. Some can be reused,
Yeah.
some donate, some compost. We send back the true consumption with the forecast. And we really tell them that it's what the staff decide to reuse, but after it on their part to decide what to do with.
And that's where the expertise of the chef comes in or whoever's monitoring that, right? But
Correct.
but the whole thing, the whole mantra, if you will, is that now they have the correct data to be able to make a better decision, right?
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Just it's just amazing to me how this is all developing. Um, so let's see what's next for Metafoodx. Anything you can share as to what Gen 6 or 7 is going to be?
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, of course, right now, we are really putting our focus on making sure, right, we make it available to as many of our customers as possible because, right now, based on the customer, the experience, typically within a few weeks' time with the solution, they are already because of the data, right? Menu level and day in, day out, what is the consumption, what's the leftover, and what's the most popular, what's the least popular. And that is already enabling them, just making that very informed incremental adjustment, right? Either to the menu lineup or to the amount they produce, and they are realizing typically they can cut down right their overproduction by 50%, just within a few weeks. And we are excited with that. I mean, and then the next one, as Terry mentioned, right now, we already have, for example, one of the kitchen management software system we already integrated, uh, and then we have a number of those partners lined up, and this would make it more for those environment that use them to fully automate, right, that process. And then with that automation, of course, the immediate thing is now we are uh, doing the forecast, leveraging AI based model from the initial ones we have, then to leveraging AI to build a more comprehensive prediction model, right? This is where even today we already integrate weather and a number of other factors, but we can integrate more. We can integrate their calendars, right? Activity
Yeah.
calendars, things like that, to get that forecast more complete, more comprehensive. So that's the very first thing we can see we're lined up to do. And then further is where we actually kind of touched upon because we know we can help beyond college and university, going to the whole hospitality, the all corporate dining, and all the way to fast service restaurant multi units, because we already seen that, right? That requirement is already in. We already have early customers using us, but we are going to actually further add. One is integration. That is where not only kitchen management software, right, but also kitchen management software, increasingly adding the POS. And the POS vendors are also very eager because just POS alone, right, it's a very narrow um, service the offer, and also it's a very crowded space.
Yep.
However, our capability is really fully enabling, filling the gap between the POS and what they purchase. And this is where the power comes in. We have a lot of demand there. So this is with the general setting of the restaurants, and that's where we are going to further add that integration and also make the product so that it will address those points, the pain points, much better. That is, the running inventory or the fulfillment, right? Or the things in that restaurant environment, that is going to be also coming down on the pipe. Yeah.
Well, so couple of directions my mind goes is one is are you kind of hinting about, when you engage with the point of sale, now you can start to do predictive analytics. So you know how much food's going to be produced and how much is wasted. Now you can help the chef, work with production to, reduce because that dish didn't sell very well or they didn't take as much of that. So, so then they can start to adjust and work with predictive analytics.
uh, Terry can add more, and I would say there is a finer detail, right? If you think of today's group dining, we already do it, right? Because we actually track the prepared food, the consumption left over. So that is already very accurate with without
Got it. Yes.
POS.
Yes.
Yes. And then when you go to restaurant environment, I think you are absolutely right because that's where we feel that gap of actual ingredient get used and actual food get produced. That's the same thing we are measuring. We are going to help with the restaurant versus the POS. You know, the POS, as you know, it's a sales unit, right? You
Yeah.
could have sold a dish with this amount of money, but depending on how the staff, the kitchen is preparing it, you may have one is during the cooking, you may have a different yields, or you may have a portion control issue that you're fulfilling differently. So
Yep.
that's why it doesn't translate accurately to what you need to buy in terms of your running inventory. So
Yep.
that's where we absolutely should be making a big impact to help the restaurants, right? Because that's one of the pain that restaurant is just hard to keep their inventory accurate, simple. It's a problem still not solved today.
Yeah. Anything to add to that, Terry?
No, I think for men, just say everything.
I'm
So
learning, Terry, so that's all learning from you.
that's human learning, not digital learning, right? Uh, the other question that when you were talking about, food waste and that sort of thing, and your passions around food waste, Benjamin, the, post consumer waste is also an issue, especially in institutions. Not maybe you can't figure it out too much in restaurants, but when somebody comes back and drops their tray at the dish drop, is there, from a futuristic standpoint and maybe things that you're exploring, are you working with any opportunities there on post-consumer?
Terry, passionate.
Yes, we do. We start to use the device in couple location in post customer. Look, is used two way. You can use in a dish room and have the dishwasher scanning the plate before dumping a trash, or you have the customer really scanning the plate before put on a conveyor tray. And what we do, we get the maximum data on the food waste. So we tar the plate, we recognize the total food wasted. We start to recognize 4, 5 major items on a plate. And we send all this data back to the kitchen with a picture of each plate. Um, for sure, Mark, before you ask a question, I will answer directly. If you have 2,000 people for lunch, you don't need 2,000 people to scan the plate. The goal is if you have 10% of the customer playing the game and scanning the plate, it gives you enough data on the food waste, on the portion control to send back to the kitchen and have the chef monitoring and taking action.
Yeah, because I can remember, the dish room is a key place for a chef to learn a whole bunch about
Yeah.
what's selling, what's not selling. They ate half of this, they threw all that away, all that kind of stuff. And to me, what you're talking about there is it takes all the guesswork out of it. It takes the humans, out of the whole picture, right?
In the beginning of my career, couple of say 37 years ago, my boss told me one time, if you want to know what happened in your business, every morning bring a coffee to the dishwasher and talk with them.
Yes.
And that's the best advice I think I got. And it's true. You learn everything. You learn, they tell you what people are not eating, what they don't saw coming back, what times they are busy. You can manage the flow of your restaurant. You have all the information you need. Look, my advice to everybody is take 5 minutes a morning and go have a coffee with your dishwasher or use our device.
Yeah.
Yeah, no question about it. And that was good learning. And I kind of had a similar situation. I spent a lot of time. I started in the dish room when I was back in my early career, and man, I know that dish room inside and out. And you're right. but I was working in a restaurant, and the communication between the dishwasher and the chef was pretty much non-existent, other than
Mhm.
I'm out of plates and get me some more plates, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And to me, what this does is takes it into the new age, and brings it all around a better managed, if you will, system, right? So
I mean, I think as today you really don't have a choice for different impact. First of all, the sustainability. We cannot continue to afford to waste so many food, but you also have the cost of the food. Uh, the inflation is here, it will not go down. The cost of the labor is up, and it will never go down either. Look, you really have to manage your business the best you can do it, and you need all the tool. You need to understand your waste in three compartments of the kitchen. What happened in the back of the house, what happened in the main line, what happened in the dish room. Look, like I like to say we have one device for three solution because we are covering the three bays of the kitchen, the back of the house, the consumption, and the dish room.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Well, okay, so take me into the AI world. I don't know, about maybe 2 months ago, I got real familiar with Copilot, and Copilot is my agent, and Copilot is my finance person, my legal person, my therapy, all of that kind of stuff. And so I'm getting really intrigued with AI. Tell me about, kind of the back end and the AI experience that's going on with your device.
Yeah, it's a great question. I would start by emphasizing, for us, we are the first kind of real attempt, right, building the system to try to get into a real kitchen environment, to actually to know the workflow in the kitchen environment, right? By developing this device using the AI, basically the transformer-based AI model, that's the newest capability, to actually be able to literally recognize anything in that kitchen environment without pre-training. I would say, to summarize, that is probably the most fundamental application that we did, right, as a vertical application of the Gen AI into the kitchen environment. And I'll contrast that with what you mentioned when you say either, newest, right, ChatGPT 5 or, other systems. Today, most of that, it's becoming more powerful in terms of that model, that foundational model, right? Have more things to do things in multiple steps and to do a lot of smart reasoning. So that's the powerful thing from that model. Um, but if you look at it, mostly the success started with understanding language, generating, right, paragraphs and then dialogue, and then generating image, right? That's a whole sequence. Everything is on that interface, the things that you can either generate or capture in language, right? That's how it began. So it's still very powerful. And when the time is right, if people, let's say we need some places to help to make the interaction easier, we can introduce those features, capabilities from the Gen AI to make, let's say, voice-based dialogue. We see some opportunity, some area that can be applicable, but it's still slightly different, right, from what we have done. What we have done is actually the architecture we built. The biggest thing is this: we are able to put into practice how to combine a local AI model that is based on your venue, your environment, what dish you are serving, and who is cooking all this dish. We want to build the model because you cook it this way, and your food item is going to look different from someone else. That's one aspect. We have to recognize there is a generalization, but not everything will be generalized, right, across the world. So we have to stick on to recognizing local dish using the menu item name that the chef and this particular environment use. That's the first thing. This is the local versus the general model, foundational model. We actually build an architecture, learning architecture. We recognize the relationship between these two. We know when we need to reach out to the foundational model in the cloud versus when we just straight out recognize, learn, and locally. And then there is the second notion that is actually linked to this, that is enabling us to do what we refer to as learning on the fly. Learning on the fly is a critical thing, because we are recognizing a food item or any item in the kitchen environment, um, so that learning on the fly become very critical. In the old days, when just using the neural nets based general image recognition, people always have this notion says, okay, you have 20,000, right, 50,000 images to train a model in order to recognize. And that,
Right.
of course, we know is not going to work in the kitchen environment of all the food. So that's when we first, before even the Gen AI come along, we actually developed a model, a local image, basically a transformer based model to be able to learn to do learning on the fly. That means, when we first time see it, we allow the operator to help to just do that label. When see this image once, twice, that's it. That's sufficient for it to learn on the fly. So instead of, using scale.ai or ask a chef for 20 images, we don't. We start with going there with your manual list, and then the operator, the first or second pan scan, you tell it what it is, and that's it. It learns. And so that was the learning on the fly before we even integrate with the generic the model, the foundation model. And then when the foundation model come along, we further expanded our architecture. So now the system actually knows this notion, the model local on my device, the scanner, versus the one, let's see, the Google Gemini, right? And the two actually interact in a way now it's beyond what is happening in your kitchen. And also, 95% or even 98% of the time, you don't even need to actually help us to label that new item because you don't need to give it. It just recognize it. It knows it's smart enough. It knows the context, right? Which venue where you are operating. It knows how those food look like and what kind of key ingredients is in that food. That all become the context for this model we build, right, for the kitchen environment. So it actually take out that manual labeling even out of the picture. So
Yeah.
that's how the power, because it's really the first step we go in. It's a physical environment. You have to deal with physically cooked food menu items, and then you have to actually be able to track it without, right, manual labor. I mean, that's really, I mean, to me, of course, I'm not like an AI expert per se, but because of the technical background and I pay attention, I of course have my CTO Jun and the team building this. And that's really the power. That's the power of AI in our device, in our solution. Yeah.
Oh, it takes my mind into so many different places. We were talking about hospitality at the very beginning of this and how you can now probably send that information to a customer's phone and they can learn about the dish and, the story behind it and all of that sort of thing. It's just crazy where this thing could end up, right? I also think about, when you were talking about the interaction with the chef or with the kitchen staff, is a chef now going to wear a headset and talk to the AI bot about what's going on in the kitchen and like you say, adjusting on the fly, right? Or even, Meta has eyeglasses with Ray-Ban now that are, you can look at things and I mean, I go off in a lot of different places, but it's really, really exciting times with AI and the way that it's going so fast. I mean, you know, you talked about Chat GPT 5, right? That was just dropped, I think, late last week.
Yeah.
And now people are, just going crazy with it. It's just like it's just blowing me away what's going on with the AI thing. So, okay, we can go on forever. I don't want to keep a whole bunch of time with you guys, but I have some kind of one answer questions that I want to hit you with at the end, and then we'll wrap this thing up. So, what is one food you can never waste?
One food you can never waste. Can you elaborate? You mean it's so important, so precious, or
Yeah, what's something in the kitchen that if you tell a chef this, we got to have this, we can't ever throw any part of it away, what would that be?
I leave it to Terry. Terry have more appreciation of what food, right? From either it's the how good the food or how expensive it is. And Terry, what's your thought?
It's a very interesting question, Mark. I think it depends on the chef, and some chef will never waste anything because they will reuse everything. Um, and non-food should be wasted. That should be the correct
Okay,
answer.
I like that answer.
It's not because the food is more expensive of another, you need to focus more. All the food chain has a problem today, and you need to be careful and treat all the food like a diamond. That's my view. I will never say, okay, you don't care about your carrot, but care about your beef. Um,
Okay, I'll
Yeah,
switch
that's a tough
I mean,
question.
I mean, for come back to your question, you will never be at zero waste. We have to be honest, and you cannot control what people eat, and you cannot go in every customer and say, eat your plate or don't take the food. Unfortunately, you cannot do it. But I think education for the customer, especially the young customer going in university, you arrive in an environment where it's all you care to eat, you have all this beautiful food, all this station. I think there's more education to do on sustainability. And on a kitchen, I think more training and to understand how to use the leftover and how to use the element you don't use.
Yeah, and when you talk about training and education, that takes me back to AI, right? The way that people learn is going to change, and you're going to use, AI agents to train you and to help you learn a whole bunch of things, right? So me, you're right in the
Yeah.
sweet spot for sure.
I mean, today you can put a list of leftover, put in ChatGPT 5 or 4 or 3, whatever you want, and say, create me a recipe.
Oh, and it does it in seconds.
And it doesn't a second, and you have 5 recipe minimum coming. Look, it's also training and time. I mean, take the time. Have a chef who manage the kitchen and not a chef who pass his time to cook. Because that's a problem in a lot of locations. The chef is short of time, or no, sorry, short of staff. You get 5, 6, 7, 8 phone calls a morning, people calling sick. And this first priority is to be sure the student has the food on the table.
Yeah.
What he's doing is neglecting this aspect of management for doing cooking. And when you do that, you don't know what happened around you.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I just want to echo that, AI can further help with education. I mean, the students are the most teachable, right? By definition. And
Yeah.
it's interesting because we were earlier talking about post-consumer, because most of the school, the two things probably most interesting, it will be sufficient for them to actually educate the student about post-consumer waste. One is the total waste, right?
Yep.
Which we
Yep.
already track. And the second one is for every scan, we already capture a picture. The picture is still anonymous, right? Doesn't say who, but just imagine, and then the school make that available for the student to look to say, okay, which plate is, on the Hall of Shame, right?
Yes.
And then
Yes.
what's the total waste? I mean, that is where, we can use AI for that education so easily, right? Because the data is available from us.
Yeah.
Um, on the other hand, we talked about creating the new manual. This is where it's very interesting because today, you can ask ChatGPT, it probably create, a few manuals as Terry mentioned, but I would bet, both the chef, the executive chef, and also the nutritional, right, officer people would want to, they will be spending a bunch of time actually experimenting with that
Yeah.
recipe. And that's the part you still cannot replace. And they will have to go through the experiment. They have to like the flavor and the taste, right?
Yeah.
And then in addition to nutritional compliance. So this is where I think in the kitchen environment, we have that unique requirement, right? We have to be aware and to make, uh, so it's critical to think about what is practical, right? For the kitchen, for the food service. Yeah.
Yeah. No, no question about it. And like you say, education is key, and especially in the college university world, it's you've got prime thinkers and prime people who want to learn and that sort of thing. And then, the world that I come from in the corporate world is that those kids that are in that college university are going to be, the employees of the future. And so
Yeah.
whatever the college universities are doing, the corporate world's going to have to keep up, because the college university operators are training them to have all this stuff, right? So we in the corporate world really got to keep up with that for sure. Okay, again, we could talk about this forever. I'm going on and on, but one last question, and this will be a short one. I'll start with you, Theory. That'll give Benjamin you a time to think about it. If you were one piece of a kitchen equipment, what would it be and why?
Uh, I will be matron for Metafoodx.
I knew you were going to say that.
I
Uh,
mean, it's
and why? Why would you be the tool?
because they really provide you the tool you need. I mean, you can cook different way. You can use a stove, you can use an oven, you can use a barbecue outside. I mean, you have different way to cook or to
Yeah.
peel or to. But no, I think I will be matron of Metafoodx. I think that
Okay.
is the best. Is what I miss in my kitchen forever, and we create it. Look, it's the
Okay.
first thing I will install in the kitchen.
And Benjamin, I bet you have the same answer.
Oh, it's very tough. I mean, I would say I probably would extend our Metron or the system, right? The Metron today is for tracking. I would extend it into a very capable sous chef or chef assistant
Okay.
because I care so much also. I mean, being a foodie, right? And that's the part, it's going to be need to be forever there, right? So the closer we created to be close to an executive chef to decide, what is going to be served and how, the better. I think that'll be the Metron's future.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Any final words that either one of you want to bring forward?
For me, I think we have a solution that works, and I'm connecting this effort to the general mission or the challenge people are trying to solve. That is sustainability, food security. I think we have a solution that really solves how do we do it and how do we do it by many, many operators, many environments. So I think it's going to be great if people now start now, right, to actually leverage the solutions uh, to make an impact. That's what I'm hoping to see, and we're going to do our best to do it. Yeah.
Okay. Jerry?
And if I have to say something, I think the kitchen today I mean, the way we work in a kitchen is different today versus 20, 25 years ago. I mean, again, I mean, the cost of the food is not the same. The cost of the labor is not the same. The customer need is not the same. The planet need is not the same. To use technology, we saw more and more and more technology coming in the kitchen, and it's great. But I think something we understand and is very good for our customer, it's we also understand a chef is not a data analyst. And the chef has no time to go over a report and to go over the data and to go and try to understand everything. Look, we simplify all the process, we give them direct tools, and they appreciate it.
Yeah.
You don't want your chef to stay in office in the computer for all day, try to understand where is coming from this number or this picture or this waste, etc. You want him to focus on what he like to do, what he love to do, and what he's paid to do, with cooking, managing staff, managing budget, placing order, doing FIFO. I mean, the list for chef duty is already so long. You cannot add anything on this shoulder. You need
Yeah.
to buy tool, but not add anything on this shoulder.
Yep, totally agree with you. And to me, the future is AI, the future is data, and that's what's going to help those chefs and those kitchen workers, right? Perform better and have, better outcomes. Well, guys, thanks so much for taking the time out of your busy days and spending some time with me. And it was fantastic. I really appreciate everything that you've provided, and I think our audience is going to get a lot of information out of it. And again, we'll probably look forward to seeing you at our explosions meeting coming up, and have you do some dog and pony shows to show us a little bit more about the machine and how it looks and how it does things. But thanks again for all your time and effort. This is fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Really enjoyed the conversation. Yeah.